Hello everyone, this is the Hasegawa 1:48 scale Ju-87G-2 Stuka paint video. So as you can see, we're going for a winter whitewash, following as closely to the reference photos that I can. So yeah, don't say it's overweathered, there's a load of photos to back up the work that I've done. So yeah, first of all, starting off by painting the German crosses. This is Atom White over Mission Models Chrome as a base colour, and then as a primer, Mr. Surfacer 1500 Grey, the light grey one. This is sprayed with the Mobius 0.3 airbrush, you can see it on the screen. So the reason why I started this build is because I saw in the German archives they have like a digital, much like the Imperial War Museum photos, they have a collection of photos, and I put in Ju-87 and I saw so many amazing reference photos of winter camouflaged Ju-87s with this winter camouflage, and it's heavily worn. So I'm going for, there's a few photos of the G2 that I've done which aren't on the archives. I saw them on, it was a website called Volker 1. I don't know any German, so butchering that, but yeah, someone else did a build video of this, I think the 72nd, not video, an article, and it was a 72nd Academy one, so I just liked the references and I had a G2 that I was building, so yeah, that's how it came to be. And those photos were taken in, I think, March. They look quite healthy. The winter wash looks quite healthy for March, so I assume that they didn't survive. They weren't in the white before the winter, and they were relatively new. That's total speculation, but compared to some of the Ju-87Ds, they're pretty clean. So yeah, I just decided to up the slider in terms of weathering if it was like a editing software, and yeah, just make it a little bit more extreme. The aircraft's been in theatre for just maybe a month more, it's gotten a bit more muddier, and yeah, that's what's going to come in next, is really tying this story together. So with the white, I've tried, basically my main inspiration was Shostakovich's music, especially his string quartets, number 2, movement 4, just all the ones that, I don't know, give a real sense of the horrors of the Eastern Front. And I wanted to embed the character and extreme depth and seriousness of that, and tragedy into that, of that music, into the paintwork that I've done. So hopefully you can kind of see that, and then the weathering will definitely tie it together, because I want to do, it's in like March, the winter camouflage getting a bit worn, and overall war situation's getting worse. It's 1944 and it's the muddy season, the rainy season basically, and it's just covered in mud. I saw some videos of Ju-87Bs in just a similar environment on the Eastern Front with a very, very tatty looking winter camouflage with a lot of mud. So I want to try and emulate a bit of that, but I also want to do a Ju-87D, a D with the shorter wings, so a D3 or a D1, and then a B with just fully exposed legs. You can see here there's still, I think, the canvas or the fabric bits covering the oleos, but I want fully exposed oleos on the next one. So here we are using Mission Models, I don't know, I can't remember the RLM number, and we're just putting it down, sorry, RLM 65, and if you spray the Mission, it's a water-based paint, so you put the Mission down. However, if it's just pure Mission and you try and chip it, it's just going to go everywhere, and it's not very durable. You can burnish it like as much as you want, but to add strength to the paint, and make it act more like a normal paint, you add their polyurethane additive, or the poly intermix, and that will basically, if you chip it with water, it will chip away and leave more jagged and flakier chips rather than just turning into a mush, which is what you'll kind of see later, because I want that effect. I want it to be a bit mushy so I can reorganize it and use the paintbrush to add like the impression of there being like the whitewash has been painted on, and it's also getting affected by the rain and a bit of streaking. So yeah, because I doubt they're going to be inside that much. They're all outside. I think the Bismarck guy, the military aviation history, he made a video on Eastern Front conditions, I think maybe particularly for the Stuka, and they were getting up super early in the morning, trying to get the aircraft started, getting ready, getting them prepped for the mission, and then they'll get the aircraft running, unfreeze all the water, because it's a water-cooled engine. They unfreeze it all, get everything working, and then the aircraft gets bogged down into mud, and then stuff starts freezing over again, and then you can't really go out and do a mission anymore because you're just stuck and there's less hours in the day. So yeah, so here I'm using the Atom, and the Atom is going down. It is the, I think, Dunkelgrün color. And then I couldn't get the black green, so I just added a bit of black, I think. Literally just added black, because you're not going to see this. It looks really nice. I was actually quite happy with the overall colour of what the Atom gave off. It was really, I was really happy with it. So yeah, you can see now adding the start of the white. This is Mission with just a tiny bit of poly intermix into it. It's not that much. It's not what you would do for example, if you watch the Corsair video. I've got another one coming out for the F4U4 for the painting, for the painting stages. It will have a lot more poly added to it, so the paint is a lot more harder, and it will dry to a lot, like not a matte finish. Like you'll see with this, unless I burnish it in my attempts to try and chip it, it will be mostly matte. So I noticed some pictures from the German archives. There were onboard photos with streaks like I'm doing right now, going across the airflow of the wing, and yeah, just giving the impression of that. But I don't like how it's not getting filled in how I would like it. So yeah, just building up the opacity of the winter wash, and I'm doing the wingtips first, then I'll move them into the fuselage. So what I've noticed with weathering aircraft is that usually the wingtips, you work, the amounts of weathering is characteristic of different parts of the aircraft, and it always works in. So most cases, the wings are the least weathered, and then it works in towards the fuselage where they're the most weathered. Now yeah, okay, people are sitting on the wings, but there's very little maintenance. There's no one like going up there every time the aircraft goes out for a sortie, every time the aircraft needs to be maintained, every time it needs to be started up, every time something needs to be changed out or fuel needs to be put in. They're not going out to the wingtip. So wingtips are usually relatively clean and not that much weathering. Yeah, okay, if you're in the Pacific and your aircraft subject is bringing up like coral and stuff, and yeah, the wing leading edges will be weathered, but the overall upper side of the wingtips, especially the lower side, there's not going to be that much. Just as a general rule. Of course there are exceptions, and when you get to the exceptions you can really play into them, and that's where I find some of the joy in scale modeling. Having those liberties, doing something unique to a project. that you see in a reference photo. So for here it's these characteristic like black exhausts going up and over, as well as the contrast between, I think, a newer types of, or newer sprays of the white compared to the older ones. And yeah, later on I'll show you how I achieved that contrast, which you'll see mainly on the nose of the completed aircraft. So now you can see me using just a bit of masking tape over the ailerons to further exemplify the streaking effects. Not sure how these came about in the reference photos. Could be the way the guy sprayed it. There's a few pictures, or well, I think there's one or two. There's a quote unquote famous, like no one knows about it. Well, not many modelers know about it, because I mean, not many people are making Stukas. But yeah, it's the green camouflage, and they're spraying using a spray gun around the crosses. Okay, so now we're at the wing root. We are going to make it slightly less opaque, so there's more green showing through, because I want to weather this. It doesn't matter which bits are, like if you want, say, the bit around those like anti-slip rails to be more white, then it doesn't really matter if you don't make them more white, because you can reactivate the paint and then move the gunk. So you add the white and then it reactivates the paint, and then you can move the white gunk from the paint and move it and push it into the direction that you want, so it becomes more white. So yeah, just coming in with the mission. And yeah, I find the winter washes are very fun because you can be very creative. You follow the references and you can be kind of creative. You can think through how you want so and so effect. You can work whatever pace you want, and you just have to think through it and plan. So the reason why there's atom, and I didn't use mission over mission on the camouflage. So the camouflage, the two greens, are atom paints. The reason why is because when I put water to the mission and I rub it real hard so that the greens are showing through in the atom isn't reactivated. If that was mission under there, it would reactivate, and then a lot more silver would show through, and it'll be a bit harder to control the layers. And yeah, this project isn't really focused. You could do Tamiya if you wanted, basically. And yeah, for a project like a Corsair, which has zinc chromate, and you want to have the choice between having blue chipping back to show the zinc chromate, or you want the zinc chromate to also be chipped back to show the silver, you can choose selectively where you want that, using odorless thinner to chip back the atom paints, which you can do. And that also means that if you put atom over the mission and you use odorless thinners, you can either touch up the atom, so say you painted markings with the atom, you can use odorless thinners to audit and improve, like remove any mistakes basically, or any overspray. So that's why on this one I used the atom to create the exhaust stains, because it gives me a lot more freedom. Now, compared to the Corsair, the mission here is a lot more sensitive to water and odorless thinner, so I refrained from rubbing the mission white too much when I got overspray from the exhaust stain. But if it was a Korean War Corsair, like you're going to see in a bit if you watch that video, you'll see that when I did the exhaust stains, it was very easy to rub off all of the atom overspray, and whilst still retaining that mission. So now we have gotten to the fuselage. that looks lovely. I've seen some great reference photos of Stukas in Finland, and they are, or Estonia, I think, and they are wonderfully weathered in these colours. So hopefully Eduard, because this Hasegawa Stuka's quite a lot of work to make it like look pretty good. Well, I put that work on myself, putting all the Eduard photo etching, but yeah, hopefully Eduard comes out with a Stuka. I saw there were 3D renders, but yeah, of course they need to do like P40 and stuff that will ensure that they have profit to continue what they do. So yeah, just getting on with the white here. I wanted a lot more older white here. It's more grey compared to the newer white on the, for example, the wingtips or parts of the fuselage. And I didn't know how to, the engine nacelle. And I didn't know how to achieve this. Engine cowl. And the way I went about this in the end is that I got the state that I left it with this paint, and then I reactivated the mission, and then I just moved it around in the right way. And then yeah, because it was very, as you can see here, it's quite speckly. So I just reactivated some areas of the paint, and then yeah, just went from there, and then sat down with the airbrush for a bit, and then just made a few more areas more opaque, but that's towards like the back of the fuselage or on the engine cowl. Okay guys, strap in, it's gonna get good now. So yeah, the main event, chipping. So yeah, I did a few rounds of chipping on here. So literally all I've got on the brush is it's slightly moistened with water, and see how quickly the mission has come off. Now we are just following what I've seen on references. There's a great picture of I think a D model Stuka with the pilot or the gunner, and it's showing, yeah, this bit in particular. So I spent a bit of time trying to get that to kind of look what it looked like in the references. So yeah, as you can see, when we add the water and we dry this off and we brush and make contact with the paint, it's going to start burnishing. That's very useful for those burnishing tactics, because you don't want to just have a model in like matte varnish and there's like no variation to the sheen. You want some areas, some high traffic areas, to be slightly more polished, or reverse, slightly duller. For example, if it's a glossy blue Corsair, in some examples the glossy blue is slightly duller in the more high traffic areas, and yeah, vice versa. If it's a Spitfire, and it will be more burnished towards the gun ports, for example, because the hands of the mechanics, the 48 scale mechanics, 72nd, 32nd scale mechanics, they're rubbing down those panels and they are getting shinier, and then over time they'll get a little bit more chipped. But yeah, for those subjects it's not that much chipping, but a lot more burnishing and sheens. So yeah, gotta put your effort into there. And yeah, if you put a matte varnish over it, I was going to experiment with a Corsair cowling, but yeah, I'll do that soon. But if you put varnish over this, it's gone. You're not getting it back. So you either need to use masks all the time, or do like spot varnishes to get all the decals done, and then spray around them to restore the properties of the mission. So here we are doing just a continuation from that reference photo that I was copying, and yeah, now we're doing the downward streaking to show the influence of the age and wear that comes with the crew using that little handle recess, and then yeah, brushing against the winter wash as they get into the aircraft. So yeah, just using just a tiny bit of water, you can see how much just a slightly dampened brush does, and how easily the paint comes off, or how easily the paint is manipulated. And yeah, once you get the gunky stuff, so that's what I like to do, how I like to call the activated mission. So you add the water to it and then it starts activating again if there's not that much poly additive in it. So that's what it's doing here, and then once it's activated you can then reposition it and then stipple it in, and then that will remove most of the hints that it's been sprayed with an airbrush, and then now it gets a more field applied look. So yeah, hints that it's been airbrushed on include very soft edges, maybe slightly grainy texture potentially, and yeah, just activating the paint and then just reorganizing it to how the reference shows, and just to show that like the direction of crew movements is just the way to go. So now we're on to the gunner, like just the rear canopy, and yeah, leveraging that, just the slightly higher angles that aren't available on a fuselage. So here, yeah, just making use of those corners, and you'll notice that the green, when it's chipped back, has a slightly greyish texture to it. It's not that vibrant green that you can see, if you can remember, to the beginning, or that you can see on the vinyl masks there. It's a slightly it's like a light grey, light green version. If I added up the amount of poly and I made it higher and increased it, then the paint would be a bit more flakier, and then we would see more green flaky chips. So yeah, I want to delve into that in a potential Ju-87B or an earlier D3 project. So yeah, lots of vertical streaking motion action you can see here. Just yeah, leveraging those sharper angles. And as you can see, the sheen compared to how it was, say 20 seconds ago on that little bit that I'm going at currently, it's been developed and it's far more burnished compared to the bit that I'm just getting to now. So yeah, just keep an eye out for that throughout these weathering videos that I'm doing, because it's a common feature and it's a very unique property that mission models has compared to, like, definitely compared to over lacquers. But Tamiya also has this feature, just maybe 5 to 10% of it, and much less control over it. And we are now back to the fuselage. You can see how much it's evolved since before starting the chipping, and yeah, now you can see the demarcation that I've created using the airbrush. I think just a bit of paper just to get it a bit sharper, and yeah, literally just following the references, getting a bit more paint off, getting a bit more comfortable with removing it. Yeah, you just got to get into that flow state, you got to get your eye for it and all that, and for that you need to practice. To get up to this stage with mission models and chipping like this, I did a BF109 and a Focke-Wulf 190 A4, and both used mission models with varying degrees of poly. I think on the 190 I used a bit of varnish to protect the lower level of the mission from the wear of another level of mission above it. However, now I'd probably use Atom for that. But yeah, I haven't explored Atom white and mission white and how they interact. I've only done just the Atom green and then the mission white. So we're now adding the German crosses. These are the more simplified versions, just with a bit of black. I should have thinned the Atom a little bit more, but oh well. It looks fine. and I didn't want that much potential leakages or anything going under. And now just removing those masks, always nice and satisfying when all goes well. Looks a little field applied, which is what we want. And now the wing markings. Yeah, trying not to let the little symbol on the tail make that much of an appearance in this video. I'm not sure if YouTube will be very happy if I show it, even though it's 100% not political, but yeah, just to be on the safe side, because don't want them coming after me. So we're doing removal of the belly, not the belly, the wing underside masks. Look at that. There's a few touch-ups, but yeah, quite nice for the Montex masks. They're very good. And now we're using a mixture of atom dark greys and blacks to create the exhaust staining colour. On the Corsair I did like a light sandy tan colour and then worked it towards a richer like brown colour, but here I'm just going straight in with some black. Not black, but yeah, some pretty dark colours, and I think I made it slightly darker towards the end. So yeah, just tracing the general outline. You can see how much I've changed and played around with the mission whites. So I did like another paint. I got it. So basically the lighter green patches that you see, I achieved that by just activating all of the mission there. I kept doing that, reorganizing the gunk, and then reactivating the gunk once it was dry, and then just letting it dry, and then I came in with another layer of paint, and now look at that sheen. You can see a little bit of scratches there, coming in a bit heavy with the paint, but it's all good because it's atom and it'll be removable easily with some odorless thinner. So yeah, I'm a lot happier with where the white camouflage is right now than I was initially after painting. So you just need to work with it. You just need to work with your subject and what you've done, and just sit around with it for a few days or a few weeks, just looking at it, just making a few tweaks, and now we're coming in with a bit bolder, slightly bolder dark colour. You can see I've already built up most of it, and also the exhaust streak goes down and underneath, which is why after the cowl, where the normal bomb rack, the swing arm is put, the exhaust colour goes all the way down there, and I like that contrast, and it's on the references, so we're going to do it. That means the belly of the aircraft under the fuselage is going to be pretty black. So that brings the painting stage of this project to a close. Of course, I will come back in with the atom, and when I get around to doing the weathering of the belly, because that's dirty, exhaust stains get there and crews aren't cleaning them. Well, the ground crews aren't cleaning them because it's the eastern front. Who's got time to clean it? You gotta counter all the freezing of the internal like water cooling, and just gotta get out and do the missions in the harsh conditions. No time to be fancy about what the aircraft looks like. So yeah, if it wasn't for Rinaldi Studio Press, who's taught all of this, he's basically the only teacher in the hobby, and he's killing it. He's doing a good job. Yeah, without him, I wouldn't be able to have such a decent result. I hope you think it's good. I hope it's inspired you, because if this was done with like lacquers and whatnot and chipping fluid, that's way too complicated for my brain. This is so much more simpler. You just put on the paint, use some water, chip it back. If it looks good, nice. If it doesn't, add some more paint or just remove it all. And yeah, it gives you a lot more confidence and security or it gives you a lot more freedom because you're not worried. Like, I've put a lot of effort into the cockpit with all the Edward photo etch, and if I was doing like chip influence and stuff, I would be a lot more worried than I was using Mission and Atom. So yeah, massive thanks to Rinaldi Studio Press for teaching all of this. So if you're interested, go join his Patreon. There's live streams, very valuable, whether you're an armor modeler, machining Krieger, 40k, aircraft, whatever type of models you like. The lessons that he's teaching in terms of painting and weathering as well as building are extremely valuable, and I don't see them getting taught anywhere else in the hobby. And if you're really interested, go get on the live coaching calls, the one-to-one coaching calls. I've done a few. They're good. They are good. So yeah, see ya.